why do I work so late? Well, as I sort of say to a lot of people, it's I'm till there about 1 o'clock most nights. But the reason is, those late hours, it's peak hour for the overthinker. So this is when they're scrolling on their phone, and it's when they might see my ads. But I'll take calls at midnight. Um, and strangely enough, you get, I end up sort of saying much of the same things to each guy, regardless of what the trauma or the trouble is that they're dealing with. Um, I speak to guys that have been to counsellors, been to psychs, they're on antidepressants. Most don't like that. Some say it helps. But if you could get back to being normal without the antidepressants, that would be better, right? Um, yeah, I get a lot of guys that sort of say, "Wow, I've learnt more off you in that hour than I have in 3 years with a psych." And I think, without bashing the psychs, but a psych is predominantly interested in the question why. And if you went to a psych and said, "Help me, doc, I'm all fucked up." Why, Johnny? Why are you all fucked up? That'll be the question. And to answer the question why, well, you've got to go back into the past. Now, I put it to you that for a lot of people, the past is not such a nice place to be going every week, reliving your trauma and going through it again. My question to people, if someone came to me and said, "Help me, Charlie, I'm all fucked up," my question is, well, what's preventing you getting unfucked? We don't need to go into the past. I think the psychs like to do that and ask the question why, because they want to get to the root cause. Most of the guys I speak to know the root cause. Didn't have a father figure, sexually abused as a kid, dysfunctional family, been out with a narcissist. They know the root cause. But the damage is done. That's the problem. And so what I try and explain to guys is, look, and I explain about the systems of the body, and there's one system of the body that we know bugger all about. And I go through them. I say, someone broke a bone, what would you do? Off to the hospital. Someone was choking, what would you do? Heimlich maneuver, or give them a good whack on the back. If someone collapsed and it looked like their heart wasn't beating, what would you do? Jump into CPR? Of course you would. We've been trained. If you're trying to have babies and your reproductive system wasn't working, what would you do? Get checked out, maybe go to IVF. But then I get to that same question that stumps nearly everybody every night, and that is, well, what do you do for a nervous system that's spinning out of control? And that's the answer I get. And I say, look, you've got to think about mental health in a systemic sort of approach. You've got to think about the whole nervous system. So for a start, your nervous system is the only system of the body that actually includes the brain. So we know what to do with all the other systems, but the one that's got the brain, well, we don't know much about it all. I say to guys, like, we don't need to go into the past to try and help you. And then what's preventing you getting unfucked? Well, to answer that question, we now got to look at the future. And I often say, see the hills over there? That's the land of unfucked. Now, I don't know how long you've been standing here, but I think we should head that direction. Tell me the story on the way. But for now, let's get moving. If you said you're not in a nice place, stop standing there. Let's get moving. It's incredible. The other thing is with the nervous system, any of the other systems that, have a problem, there's some physical force or a blockage or something physical. But your nervous system is the only system that can go spiraling out of control based on information alone. Just information can spin it. The death of a family member, death of a pet, going to jail, okay? Someone's left you, trauma. All of a sudden you're single. These are all traumatic events. Trauma can be small, but impact you big time. And when your nervous system starts to spin, it really spins. You've got to think about, again, how much time you do thinking and feeling. That's the two things that we do. So, what I teach in my program is really that relationship between mind and body, okay? Between thinking and feeling. And the fact is, you can't change one that doesn't change the other. So if you're stuck thinking in a certain way, move your body and the thinking will move. There's plenty of things you can do to stop that dreaded waste of time thing called overthinking. So, think of the nervous system. It's pretty amazing. If I pinched you on the back of the leg, the nerves in the back of your leg sense the disturbance, right? And that shoots a message up your leg to your spine shoots it up to your brain processes the information, sends a number of messages back. One goes to your leg and you pull it out of the way, another message goes to your mouth and you go, fuck off, that quickly. So it's a fine bit of engineering work of evolution or whatever, but we need to learn how to drive that, right? So if your thinking is not good, it'll translate into feeling not good. So change thinking. What I do is teach thinking skills. And I think of, if we think, even as a coach, we can drill down into a lot of different areas. We can look at your identity. We can look at your values. Values are great because, that gives you clarity about what's important. Yeah. Values, you can look at behaviors. That's what you're doing. Yeah. Your beliefs, your achievements, your blocks. But, for me, the one thing that makes the most difference is when you start looking at the beliefs you hold. Because the fundamental truth here is beliefs are not truths. Sometimes they are, but they're two different things. A belief is nothing more than a judgment that you've made about something at some point in your journey in life about how the world works. When someone comes up to me and says, well, I could never jump out of a plane, well, that's not true. They could jump out of a plane. The problem is they believe they can't, and that's why they won't. Now, where did that judgment come? They might have watched a movie when they were 11 years old and saw someone jump out of a plane without a parachute and went splat. Right there and then. They went, oh, fuck that, I'm not jumping out of a plane. And so many people accidentally pick up limiting beliefs. Now, I can't jump out of a plane. It's a limiting belief. It limits you. If you go through some trauma, you'll pick up some limiting beliefs in order to protect yourself. And the problem is, some of those beliefs or judgments that you made at 15, 18, 21, by 35, they're out of date. And you need to go back and examine the beliefs that you're holding. And where do the beliefs come through? That comes through in your negative self-talk. That private conversation that you have with yourself about how shit and horrible and crap you are. And you've got to clean up that crap. And negative self-talk it's like a disease. And you've got to keep it out. Anything you say to yourself about yourself, that's the program that your brain's going to run. So if you're running the program in your brain that I'm shit at this, and I'm not very good at that, I'm not very smart, never good upbringing, well, I put it to you that that's not helpful to be running that program if you're trying to pull yourself out of the hole. And as for stigma, it's still rampant in the community. Even though there's so much publicity given about mental health these days. I run ads on Facebook, and of all the people that click on my ad and come through and get, hit with the question, you're going through a bit of a rough patch. We might go through, three exchanges, and then from that point, 40% will drop out at that point because they can't bring themselves to jump on a call with someone they don't know. Sometimes this is social anxiety at play, but it's stigma in itself. It's worry, it's anxiety. And it's a shame because, there's sometimes I hear a little bit about the problem and I'm thinking, I might better help this guy, but he just doesn't engage in a conversation, even on a chat. When I prefer to speak on the phone because it's just so much more efficient. But if we've got to type chat, so be it. Okay. But 40% of guys still can't bring themselves to come to the table and have a discussion about it. And if they did, they'd feel better. They feel better. I mean, sometimes I will chat to a guy for an hour and a half at night, and they're maybe not suited to the program, but we'll still, and just to tell their story helps enormously because by telling their story, they've somehow got it a little bit more organised in their head. And by the time we're saying hang up, goodbye at the end of the call, they're talking more calm, they've slowed down their tempo, and they're feeling more relaxed just because they've been able to speak about it. Because there's a lot of guys out there that don't have a circle of friends around them. Might have moved interstate, family's not supportive, and a lot of guys out there are alone. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean lonely, but a lot are. And so sometimes convince people to at least jump on a call, have a chat, have a chat, and I'll give you a few new ideas to consider. Sometimes it's just straight out motivation. But look, everybody's different, but I think we complicate it too much. The guys on my program, work through a series of lessons, most of them are video, and it's like we're planting seeds along the way. And I encourage them to sort of go through the content. When they go back the second time, they're quite shocked to realise how much they took in the first time. And that's a surprise for them because that's their unconscious mind at work. The conscious and unconscious mind. I mean, look, I worked in hypnotherapy for a while, and hypnosis does wonders, and it's safe, and it's relaxing. And I do recorded ones from the program. I like recording them. And the guys on my program, it's almost like like a menu. Oh, which one will I do tonight? But it helps, as I said, get alignment between your conscious mind and your unconscious mind. If there's decisions that you need to make, the hypnosis will help you make those. And it'll also help the struggle. I mean, the most common thing that someone goes to a hypnotherapist about is to stop smoking. And here we go again, conscious, unconscious. Consciously, you should stop. Consciously, it's not good for your health. It's fuck off expensive in this country to smoke cigarettes. Makes you social outcasts and stink and burn things. But consciously, you should stop. It's the unconscious mind which loves to smoke. If you've ever been a smoker, some days you look down, you've got a ciggy in your hand, you can't even remember getting it out of the pack. That's because it was an unconscious behaviour. They're much the same as the guys who are getting sad, the guys who are getting angry, the guys with low self-worth or talking themselves down. Anything you do without even thinking about it is getting done by your unconscious mind. So if you're in the habit of doing anxiety, anxiety is good for certain events. If it's a life-changing event coming up, it's worthy. But when you start getting anxiety about going to the shops, now it's problematic. Now, if you get worried about the shops without even thinking about it, it's your unconscious mind. So this is why this program is pretty unique, because there's content for your conscious mind and there's hypnotherapy for your unconscious mind. So we're working the problem from both the front and the back, if that makes sense. And that's why the change is often fast. I get people 7 days in on my program go, I can start to feel it, Charlie. I can feel it. And of course, at 7 days in, they got 30 days to keep testing the program if they want to bail. Because with change thinking, if you're not happy with where it's at and how it's going at 30 days, pull the pin. Whether you've paid it up front or by deposit or whatever, I'll give you money back. There's no one on this program that doesn't want to be there. I'm not taking prisoners. Why would I? There's going to be bad energy for the other guys in there. And as far as the guys in there, God, What a bunch of legends these guys are. You know, sometimes someone might message me and say, you know, one I can think of, I'm sitting in the Perth hospital, Charlie. I've put myself in, mate, because I've been having some serious thoughts about ending it. So I've called up another client who's been there and said, hey, mate, do you mind giving this guy a call? You're going to relate to him better than I can. I haven't been suicidal. Helped many people suicidal, but I haven't been there myself. But there's a time and a place to hear it from someone who has. And these guys on this program, they help each other. And that's probably the surprise for me. It's not something I planned, but to see that the level of help that these and support, encouragement that these guys give other guys who are coming in is fantastic. Yeah, so look, if you haven't given it a try, get on the call one night, click around the page. There'll be links to landing pages, and you can have a read about it. But yeah, look, the one thing I say, come on board, give it a trial for 30 days, because look, that is the only way to really tell whether the program that I've put together is going to work for you. Okay? Doesn't work for everybody. Some people don't do the work. Okay? Do the work to get a good result. Thanks for your time. No worries.